Let me begin with my session. I am Kaneda from Yahoo. Let me briefly introduce myself. I joined Yahoo Japan in 2012. This was my fourth company after graduation, and I have been in charge of a top page. And in 2017, now VMware, but then Pivotal Labs. There, I went through XP training, and I have been engaged in improving organization and processes since then. Let me talk about the product that I would like to talk about. So, for smartphones mainly, this is Yahoo Japan top page. I have been long in charge of this. As you can see, the smartphone web page and also native Yahoo Japan Android and iOS version. So my department is in charge of all the products. So as you can see, they are very similar in terms of UI. That is one of the features. So the features of top page is as follows. As you can see, we are providing various capabilities and functions at the same time. At the top, you can see search, but in addition, you can see weather and other Yahoo Japan services is used by these various tools, and news and timeline. So we have a broad services. And these functions at the same time doing development in parallel. Of course, this requires a large development team. And also the target business areas tends to be large. So competition, the search company, news companies, weather companies. So we need to compete with broad competitors and also respond to changing market and competition. So if there is a change, we need to nimbly respond. So that's another feature of our product. And Yahoo Japan portal, this is the gateway to Yahoo Japan, and many users use this. So earthquake, news, these kind of information, in order to protect the safe and security of people, we need to ensure high quality. And also, as I mentioned earlier, UI, device, app, we have different UIs. There are reasons to it. And basically, as we offer various services, apps are more convenient. So more so than web, we try to recommend users to use app. Because of that, those users who are used to web, when they migrate to app, we don't want them to feel awkwardness or discomfort. So we make it similar. So when we develop functions, let's say iOS app or for ad, rather than separating them, we make it so that, okay, let's add this kind of function to search or other services. So we make it so that we develop, we do same approach. And when it comes to development approach, so web team, for instance, or news team, in the past, we had development teams by area in the past, but there were challenges that we faced. So by area, news would have their priority, or in timeline, they would have their priority. So it had tend to be partial optimized. And also, let's say for timeline, Yahoo Japan top page, we want this to be the priority. If there is a function capability, then okay, we will stop the development of tools. And then the team that sent out to help will not have resources, and they had to stop their development effort. Therefore, we thought that overall optimization and prioritization will be necessary, and also being able to flexibly respond to changes in the marketplace and competitors. And also, all of a sudden, if we need to do a lot of development, make a team flexible so that they will be able to receive help. And in order to solve this issue, one thing we installed was a Kanban system. And this comes from Toyota, their process management method in production system. But there are only two rules, basically. One is to limit a work in progress, those that are in parallel. So that's one rule. And another one is if there is a vacant slot in the limitation, then you can pull the work. And even in pulling the work in advance, we will be deciding on the priority. And as we installed Kanban, we also considered the famous Scrum, for example. But Scrum is known for sprints. And in case of top page, there are a lot of changes. So during the sprint, there may be changes in between. We cannot avoid that. So that is why we took Kanban rather than Scrum.
This is the development team and flow. As you can see, this is the organization we are using. I'd like to give you some more details. First, in the red circle is the for each domain, like tools, timeline, and so forth. For each domain, we have a person responsible, a manager. In the company, we are calling them service managers. So they are responsible. And under them, there are project managers and other functionalities. And for multiple domains, we have people responsible. But for the entire product, we use only single backlog for managing those information. On the left-hand side in the red circle is domain-free plans. So it is just put in the same queue. So in order to set the priority, we have the service managers gathering together in a meeting. We do this every day in order to set the priorities. So whatever is listed here as a priority list, before the team starts working on it, it's okay to change the priority anytime, even on a daily basis. On the other hand, for the actual team working on the development work, these are small teams, cross-sectional. For the app team, within the team, we have iOS, Android, and backend engineers at the same time in the same team. In a single team, we have 2 or 3 people. In total, 8 people in a team. It's not only engineers, but the business perspective has to be incorporated in the business decision. So the planners are in the team as owners. Also, for each team, we don't want them to do the optimization for teams. So cross-team wise, we are having these standards for iOS and other domains. And these are managed by tech lead who are working cross-sectionally. Or for the smartphone web team, it seems like that there are 3 teams on this diagram, but there are more teams. So the smartphone web team covers from front end to server side. So engineers can cover all of them. And one team consists of about 5 people. And these teams, as I said, are managing pool type workflow. One team finishes one task, and then they get the next task from the priority list. So this situation, how does it work? Transparency is important. That's why we are visualizing the status by Kanban. There are task boards. It's like to-do list, a simple one. But in the case of Kanban, for each process, we have different stages for each process. That's the nature of the Kanban. What you are seeing here is for the entire product view. So this is a product Kanban. Other than this, for each team, there are more detailed list of work in progress and so forth. So there is a Kanban for the team and a Kanban for the product. So the stages of Kanban are like this. There are so many, so I won't touch upon everything because of the time. But for example, the stage of problem, this is the memo stage. In the morning meetings, when there is the idea to change the flow, in order to keep track of these in terms of the progress, we use the memo. And also new addition. So newly added card will be put into this slot so that everyone will have a chance to see this. And also when the granularity of the cards are too high, and then we will split. So there is a stage for split in order to break it down to small pieces. Or if the team is working for another team to complete the task, and then the stage is follow up. And then when the card is in this stage, we will check the status from time to time. And after release stage, this is something that we are having because there are documentation and other things that we have to do after the release of the product. And then when the documentation is completed, and then the task is completed.
So this Kanban, before COVID-19, we were using sticky notes. So this was a quite analog approach. So as you can see, there is a picture, and it's a very huge that fills the whole wall, and it at a glance, you know where things are. And this is good for disseminating information. And if you are looking at tickets standing in front of Kanban, and someone would call on you, what's going on? And then the conversation started. But the downside was metrics. Which card in the Kanban, when did it move, and when did it end? What was the average duration? Calculating all this manually, it was quite a challenge. So from one time, we created a digital twin, digital Kanban. So in the background, digital Kanban was being operated. And then came COVID-19. And for us, basically, people started to work from home. So the digital Kanban became the main Kanban. And without confusion, we were able to make a switch over during COVID-19. And as I mentioned at the very beginning, high quality is required, and against competition, speed is necessary. So speed and quality, in order to achieve both, it's quite a challenge. So we decided to introduce extreme programming. So in extreme programming, there are a lot of practices, but amongst them, one of the representative practice is pair programming, for instance. Those codes that will be released in production will have to be written in pair. So that's one rule. And the pair will not be a pair forever, but pairs will be rotated every day. And another one, continuous integration. This is a famous practice as well. So every day, codes should be merged. Because we are going to rotate the pair every day, then of course the codes that were written on that day has to be shared. So necessarily the codes will be committed every day. And also achieving quality, test-driven development will be the key. There are different elements to it, but the famous aspect is to write a unit test that fails. And then create a minimal implementation that passes that unit test and get green. By maintaining green, do the refactoring. After implementation, after the test and release, then refactoring comes. But in reality, refactor doesn't happen. So we included a refactoring in this small cycle. And in this flow of development, metrics are generated, and we use this all the time. So on digital Kanban, we classify cards, and how cards moved. We captured log data, and using BI tool, we automatically aggregate them. And for example, some of the tools, entry, the Kanban, for instance, like with GitHub project or Trello are being used now. And from there, log data will be converted to RDB. So that's a conversion layer. So we extract data from API and store in MySQL, for instance. And for the registered data, Tableau, Apache Superset are being used. These BI tools help us to visualize. So card classification, as I mentioned. This is an example. One is we classify the projects or the work. There are 4 types. One is business. Second is technical improvement, maintenance operation, and incident malfunction and failure. So there are 4 types. So business, directly the value is delivered to the user. And technical improvement, it's not direct contribution to the user in terms of value. It's indirect, but it adds to the status quo. So for instance, like refactoring, it works so that we can deliver as much value as possible. And maintenance operation, if we don't do this in the future, the value will be degraded. We cannot maintain the service. In order to avoid that, we have to take action. So it's maintaining the status quo. Incident malfunction failure. So the value has been damaged. In order to restore the damage, this has to take action. This action has to be taken. And another approach is what we called estimate by t-shirt size. So internally, we call it scale or super rough estimate, but estimate are in 2 stages mainly. First step, when implementation project is being considered, that we use a t-shirt size. Can we go on with this plan? And if so, in what order? So it is used to judge the feasibility and priority. So which means not accuracy, but promptness and simplicity are more important. So which means that this may change in the future, which means that a schedule cannot be made based on this. And the reason why we use this is coming up with estimate. Of course, we need engineers' resources, and also detailed specification will have to be worked on. So it uses time. So in order to avoid that, at a high level, service managers and management will decide on what kind of priority to proceed. And for detailed estimate, it will take place later. The development team, when they pull, like I said earlier, then after the project is pulled, they work on the detailed estimate. And examples of t-shirt size estimate. Of course, it really depends case by case. If it's S, it's less than 1 man week. M, it's about 1 to 2 man week, half a month. L, 3 man week to 1 man month, and XL will be 1 man month or more. So this is the category. And after this, metrics calculation I will talk about. And in order to be able to calculate, points are given. Like S is 1 point, then M would be like 2 S's, and L would be 2 M's, and XL would be 2 L's. That's how we calculate. And here, more than XL, more than 1 man month, the scope is too big. We consider to divide into subscopes or split into phases. That's what we do.
So based on these classifications, we analyze the metrics. These are some examples. We have those examples we are using for decision making. First one is classification ratio. Another is started, completed, in progress cards, and medium and long-term prospect and expected milestones. For each one, I would like to give you more details. First is classification ratio or breakdown. This is for the completed cards. So you look at the percentage of these points by classification and have it over the total points for all of the completed cards. And for a specific period, like 6 months in the previous term, or this month and last month, we can compare to see the trends over time. So we will see whether there is too much bias towards business and not so much emphasis on technical improvements, because that would be the problem. And if there is any excessive increase in maintenance, if that's the case, maybe there's a problem with the technology. And the most important one is the increase in accidents and defects and failures. This means that it's an alert for deteriorating quality or technology. So from time to time, we are checking those trends. Started, completed, in progress, cards and points, we are tracking on a regular basis. Here, there are some sample graphs on the right-hand side. The top two are tracked every week. So for each category, we are tracking how many tasks were completed. This is for 5 weeks period. And you can see whether it's increasing or decreasing, whether the breakdown is changing over time. So you can get a lot of ideas from this. For example, maybe many starts, but not so much completion. And maybe as a result, the work in progress may be increasing. This means that the team is pulling a lot of projects, but without finishing the previous projects. So it's not a pull type anymore. It is becoming a push type. That's the problem. Or many completion, but not so many starts, and the work in progress is decreasing. In this case, this is opposite. There are enough tasks or projects. We have to get more. And maybe started and completed are stable, but work in progress is too much. So that means that the team is taking too much work. And then the lead time is becoming longer and longer for the team's completion of the projects. So these are the tendencies that we can find out from those graphs. So many starts, many completion, and not so much work in progress. This is a good situation. This is the ideal situation. So from longer term view, we are also tracking the prospects and forecasts for the medium to long term. This is the previous term comparison or previous month comparison. And then how many card points have been completed. That's what we are calculating here. And those numbers are divided by the number of working days. And then that is the completion rate. And the other rate is add rate, because we keep adding more and more cards. So how many cards, how fast the cards are to be added, that is the add rate. It is also divided by the number of business days. And then from these numbers, we can tell how many cards are likely to be added and to be completed by the end of this fiscal year, and then how much progress can we expect by the end of the fiscal year. That's the kind of ideas we can get from this. And then if we have a certain situation, we may change the priority and change the task sequence and so forth. We can make many useful decisions based on these. And at the bottom of the list, there are certain cards which are not likely to be started even. And then for those, maybe the planning and implementation preparation man-hour should not be invested. That may be the decision to be made. Another is between short-term and long-term. These are milestone estimates. we also make these. This is for each T-shirt size. Like for S, what is the lead time for the completion for S size projects? And we get the average, and then we look at how many cards the team has been pulling so far, so the average work in progress, and from those numbers we can estimate how much work can be completed by when. And from there, we can set the deadline, and if there are certain deadlines for specific cards, we can calculate backwards by when we have to start those projects. And then to do that, the team may be stretching their capabilities. So we can see how easy or difficult for the team to complete certain amount of tasks. So this is the summary of my presentation. So on Yahoo Japan top page, with the Kanban and small team pool type workflow method, we are changing the priorities and scaling up and down the team sizes and so forth, so that we can be flexible and quick to the response in the response. By using XP response, we are maintaining both speed and quality of development work. And also by classifying the Kanban cards based on the track record, we can calculate the prospects and estimates in the future, and visualize the process health, team status, resource allocation, and prediction of starting time, and so forth. So these are the reference materials. So if you're interested, please refer to them. There are both English versions and Japanese versions. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for listening.
金田さん、ありがとうございました。
Kaneda-san, thank you. This will be a plus talk session, and the interviewer will delve into some of the areas that he or she was interested in. And we would like to accept questions from the audience as well. If you have a question, please press the question mark down below. So the interviewer is Kamata-san from Line. Plus, unmute your microphone. So if you could briefly introduce yourself. Thank you very much. I belong to Effective Team and Delivery Department at Line, Japan. Project manager, agile coaches, and masters belong to our department. And we are sent to different departments and divisions and development teams within the company, and we help them out. So there are a lot of overlaps with what Kaneda-san talked about. So thank you for this opportunity. So what were some of the areas that you were interested in, Kamata-san? Well, there are a lot of questions already, but with a Kanban approach, you are working in scale, and that was awesome. And migrating to this type of organizational structure or approach, why did it happen? Was it top-down? Well, At Pivotal Lab, I learned and I came back. And as I mentioned earlier, the organizational structure and flow issues were being raised by the managers. And I was wondering what everyone else was thinking. So we gathered together and doing sticky notes, we did a workshop and we listed out all the issues out from everyone and we explored the root cause. So this was the workshop that we held, and we thought that, oh, this could be solved by XP, or this could be solved by Kanban. So that was the approach initially. So the management, yes, came up with the methodology, but how exactly are we going to approach this and build this out? I think that was a bottom-up approach. I see the process of exploring different methodologies, and you worked as a team. So it was very simple. even if I say that maybe this is a good solution, but it's not easy to embed that solution. So we work together. Thank you very much. The pivotal lab that you mentioned, I'm sure you've learned a lot. But as you had a discussion with the managers, I'm sure there were areas that the managers had better understanding, and team members or maybe other members who were not there. How did you share your knowledge with them? Well, at Pivotal Lab, to start with, well, the engineer 2 and product manager 1, designer 1, so very few people go to Pivotal Lab. And they had a program to roll the knowledge out to other team members. So sometimes other members come to the pivotal team, like a 3-day workshop to pick up some knowledge and do the exercise hands-on. So those people who are highly skilled go into other teams and work as a team. So we kind of rotated around and tried to enhance the overall knowledge base of everyone. Thank you very much. So changing a gear a little bit, the development structure, you showed me and everyone the organization chart. So within that mechanism, so maybe there are urgent issues that you have to solve, or maybe from the development team, there may be Kaizen improvement proposals. So how do you incorporate those work? Well, those inserted projects, yes. We assume that to happen. We have a lot. So within that flow, well, we make it so that anyone can change the priority every day. And every day there's a judgment made. And if we decide that we have to do this quickly, and then we identify that in the early meeting, morning meeting, and then insert. And sometimes the development work that had been done will be suspended for a while. And engineers, and from the development side, the proposals, so it seemed that the planners worked on all the plans, but in fact, engineers are included in the planning team. So engineers can, of course, come up with proposals. Thank you. And another thing was a work that has different pivots. So technical depth or new product development, I'm sure they are different in their nature. So the priority in pooling the work or the project, are there any rules? Or to make it smoothly, is there any mechanism? Yes, we debate about it still now every day. So what's necessary from the business requirement? But still, we have to get rid of technical debt. So we mull over amongst team members. And when we make judgments, I mentioned about the ratio of classification earlier. And business-wise, the important ones, of course, if we do it and the ratio goes up all of a sudden, then we decide to, okay, let's do technical improvements as well and try to levelize. And the development side and the business side people would discuss, and we proceed with the work as we communicate. So within the mechanism, the development team pools the work and projects. But the thinking speed is faster. So the maturity of the list and of course, the work, of course, will take time. So the list may become longer and longer. Right, exactly. It's about the backlog. Sometimes we have like hundreds, several hundreds of them on the list. So even within Kanban, we had this case. we had like stages within backlog, and also within the backlog, we have high-level priority. So we avoid that everything is across the board. So within the backlog, there are certain things that we have to do within this term. We put those out, and those with deadline, we treat them as those with deadline. So we subdivide them. And we also have this thing called next circle list. And where do we bring it from? We discuss amongst the members.
Having said that, as you suggested, rather than pulling, the list grows faster. So from time to time, we have to review the whole list. Thank you very much. And today, I was able to hear a lot of good ideas and approaches from you. And on a continuous improvement basis, and are you trying to add and maintain those approaches and methodologies? How about the list of those methodologies? Are you updating them from time to time, or are you trying to fix the mechanism from time to time? How frequent are you doing that? Well, different time frames apply. We didn't talk about it, but there are some review sessions at different levels. So every week we have a retrospective review by each team, and also cross-team review meetings is also held every week across different teams. And also for the entire product, we have meetings and surveys with the employees. At least we do this every quarter and pick up and identify issues and try to resolve them on a weekly basis. And for major issues, we try to address them on a quarterly basis and check the results by the quarterly surveys. Thank you. Using digital tools, you are taking the metrics and measuring the metrics for improvement. So the metrics reviewed by the team and metrics reviewed by the top managers like you, are there any reviews on different levels at different timings? Yes, the metrics used by the teams. Well, we give the basic information, but we give a lot of freedom to them. Last week, in the retrospective review meeting, there was a conversation about how to address certain issues within the team. So they have a lot of discretion. And also for the overall meetings, at least once a month, we have an all-hands meeting or morning meetings for all of the members together. So there we do the reporting on the overall development status and the progress, and we can share important information there in these meetings. Thank you. There are various issues, large and small, and you are addressing them day by day. And so far, as one of major issues, could you introduce some of these that you are trying to tackle on the next quarter or so? Well, the ones that we are already working on, there are several. Well, this mechanism has been put in place already 3 years ago. At the flow chart, there were planners team, and at the bottom, there are developers. In this structure, it is like an order placement and order taking kind of a mechanism. So that was the issue that the people started to raise. It seems that from the top to the bottom, the distance, there is too much distance. That's the current issue. So in order to alleviate the problem, for some time, we have been trying one thing. Well, we didn't put any color to any team, but we started to do this. For example, this team is good at these tasks, and these teams is good at these ones, so that we can keep changing the balance and try to figure out the best balance among the teams. Thank you very much. I would like to move on to next questions. Using Kanban, you are also running pair programming and others. So within your company, for other products, Are there any other teams or using Kanban, or are you communicating with other teams from time to time? Within our company, I also belong to this CTO direct report unit or organization working on these things. So there, in Pivotal, we learn a lot of things. So there are other teams who learned from them. And 820 Labo is the organization name. They have the XP and other expertise. So when they try to introduce these to other teams, they can help. Or they can give advice to other teams. Regarding the pair program, we have a new grad training, and this is mandatory. And the lecturers are coming from these overall teams. So that's how we are trying to educate all of the members. Thank you.